Good evening and welcome. Last week we began a discussion, Kate, with Mr. Francis Ehigwese, the National Executive Director, Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport, Dr. Charles Asineme, a lecturer at School of Transport, Lagos State University.
And we also had Dr. Frederick Oladinde, the Technical Advisor Planning, Lamata.
It was indeed a gathering of intellectuals.
Yes, it was. And so tonight we'll bring you the concluding part of this interview. Our panel discussed how public transportation can aid national development. I am Kate Harmony.
I am Obafemi Craig. Join us after the break.
This is a news update on Lamata Half Hour. The importance of driving safe and accident data collection forms the focus of a review of the safety aspect of the Strategic Transport Master Plan. The review, facilitated by the Transport Planning Unit of the Lagos Metropolitan Area Transport Authority, Lamata, in conjunction with the Korea Transport Institute, was attended by officials of the Lagos State Traffic Management Authority, LASMA, the Federal Road Safety Commission, FRSC, and Lamata officials responsible for safety in transportation. Lamata, through the review, is leading an initiative aimed at capturing reliable road safety and accident data, which would detail road accidents, casualty, and location of occurrence. Speaking at the review session, Managing Director of Lamata, Dr. Dayo Mobirola, said the review was aimed at fashioning ways of bringing all relevant agencies together for the purpose of ensuring that a reliable data was collected to aid planning. Director of Public Transport, Lamata, Engineer Gbenga Dairo, stressed the need to localize any initiative aimed at gathering reliable accident data. Following the intensity of recent downpour, the Lagos Metropolitan Area Transport Authority, Lamata, has appealed to motorists and other road users to observe highway rules and avoid overspeeding, as roads may become slippery after rainfall. In a statement, the Managing Director of Lamata, Dr. Dayo Mobirola, said the appeal became urgent in view of recent spate of accidents attributed to slippery roads after a heavy downpour. He said every road user had the responsibility of ensuring accident-free roads during and after the rainy season. Dr. Mobirola admonished drivers to understand how climate change and changes in weather can affect the functionality of their cars and other vehicles on the road. He urged for caution at all times, as it is better to lose time than lives. That was the news update. Up next is a discussion segment.
Basically, what Lamata does is to coordinate public transportation in Lagos State, and we came up with a transport master plan.
Developed together with the World Bank, the objective of this plan is finding long-lasting solutions for the problem of transportation in Lagos. Currently under its first steps of development, the plan has already proven itself a big success, dramatically increasing the connectivity in a city in continuous expansion and enjoying an unparalleled demographic and economic growth.
Our responsibility is to ensure that we provide the necessary infrastructure to meet the growth, to improve the quality of life, to improve the standard of living, and to make Lagos a vibrant and livable city in years to come.
Lamata, think transport.
One of the highlights of our panel discussion was the relevance of an efficient and an effective public transportation system in driving the development of a nation's economy. A transport system where ownership of a private vehicle is an option and not a necessity. We now bring you the concluding part of the discussion. If the government do not provide what is essentially forced for them to do, basically, would investors be interested?
In 1803, I remember Agadir said, "Give me good quality and straight roads, I will let in the light."
Okay.
That presuggests that infrastructure is very key to what? To
Transport
transportation.
Yes.
And I also want to say here that transport and land use is also critical in whatever decision-making process that we are looking at. As a transport planner or a town planner, we must look at what is the quantity, or let's say the size of land. What kind of land do we have? What is the texture of this land? What investment can we make on this land? How much will it cost us to construct a kilometer of road? So all this has to be put in place. I also know when it comes to government responsibility, I know the United Nations has come to say, just as food, shelter is a basic requirement of life, transport has been included as a basic need. So the meaning is that government has a responsibility to do what? To provide essential service, which includes what? Transport. And transport infrastructure. So we must not absorb government from giving us basic infrastructure. And I want to say, it is sad to note that after 52 years, we do not have a national transport policy. That we can say, okay, every aspect of, let's talk about the aim of transport sector, the goal, the objective, the goal, and the strategies we are going to adopt in the transport sector nationwide. We don't have it. And I also want to say that most of the states, where Lagos State is scratching, yes, we are trying. I want to salute our enviable governor, amiable governor, for what he's doing so far. But I want to say they are just scratching the surface as far as transport, infrastructure, transport, social provision, transport and security is concerned, as far as we are concerned in the Chartered Logistics and Transport. While we salute that aspect of the governor, we also want to say that there's a lot that is left to be done. We want Lagos State and, of course, the state, the nation to come up with a transport policy that can articulate all that we need in the transport sector. Let me again warn that as long as policymakers make jest or play down on transport relevance to the national economy, we are heading for doom.
Exactly.
All right, if that is so, let me look at what we've seen here. You want to say something, Dr. Sinema?
To add something to what you have said.
Yes.
Dr. Fred mentioned the master plan. The master plan too is part of the whole policy thing. If you have a transport policy, like no transport project is done in isolation. It has to be linked to different sectors of the economy. But we have a situation, we just have a project done in isolation without linking it up. Nigeria does not have a transport policy. All we just have is a draft. And we just learned recently that the 2014 draft is up for review. A country cannot run an effective transport system without a policy. The policy contains what we want to do, how we want to do it, and the strategies that we're going to put in place. So when you don't have it, and nobody, that is like just walking in the dark. Okay, we are planning on having a rail network around the country. If you look at the policy, I think they mentioned something about rail, what rail can do. But how does it really fit into this? It's the policy that will give us all that. So that by the time we put the rail system in place, I saw the master plan. It's good, but it starts to conform with the national plans so that it will not run on its own.
It's still a matter half hour. We'll be right back after the break.
At this point, we'll take questions from our audience, and on the subject we've been looking at, public transportation and national development.
My question is, how long is it going to take Lamata Rail to be ready?
The blue line, the blue rail line from Okokomaiko to Marina is divided into 3 phases. The first phase, which is from Mile 2 to National Theatre, has just been completed. And we've just commenced the second phase, which is from National Theatre to Marina. That's the complicated aspect of the project because we have to build a bridge across the lagoon to fly into Marina. And we estimate that that would take about 2 years barring any complication. Because, I mean, when you do a large construction or complicated construction like that, there are other things that you need to factor in. But roughly 2 years, we should have the rail running to Marina.
Over the past years, we've seen that there's not been a good maintenance culture on infrastructure. So what's the plan to make sure all our infrastructures are being maintained and work properly?
And Lagos is quite populated, and we'll be looking at this from the perspective of the state, really. I want to say that it is critical that the state government, apart from their own direct investment, should involve the private sector. That is key. The era of doing it alone is over. Government does not even have all the resources. That's one. Number two is those directly involved, those agencies or ministries involved in maintenance should, of course, be those that are competent in the first place to do the job. Corruption should be removed out of the state so that the little resources government has been able to cough out will be utilized. Three, I want to say that it is important that at inception, we understand the kind of infrastructure we are building, the integrity of that infrastructure, looking at, of course, the material used for those infrastructure. Road failures today happen more frequently, not because those infrastructure were not provided, but they lack what we call, of course, sustainable what? Integrity. And they fail. I also want to say that the attitude of the user is important. We have found that in Lagos State, a number of car users, they just climb the cabs. They don't care. I have seen a number of people entering into the BRT, though I have personally had some, when I say disagreement now, with your safety engineer because of the height of the separation bar on the BRT corridor. But when you look at the attitude of the average user, you will now say, well, of course, Lagos State government, they have no alternative. So, like I said, government is there, will do their own. We need competent people that will maintain this infrastructure. The attitude of our people will also have to change, knowing fully well the replacement prices for this infrastructure is not as easy as you think.
Yes, more questions?
What is Lamata doing to give Lagosians an integrated transportation network?
Lamata has developed a master plan, and that master plan includes water transport, it includes rail, it includes BRT, and the minibuses that you see around. And the vision of that plan is to develop something multimodal and integrated so that people like me and you would have options. We have worked with the agents, the water agencies to incorporate their plan into the master plan. We've worked with Lagbos and other transport agencies to look at their individual plan. And we have taken those plans, we have brought them together, and we have integrated them. So if you look at what we're doing right now, we have implemented the first BLT. We are now extending that to Ikorodu. We've started the construction of the rail, so that's another mode of transport. We've also started planning for cable car, which you might not know about. And the idea of having cable car is to bypass some obstructions, like the lagoon. So if you're going from Apapa to Marina, rather than driving to Lagos and then to the island, you can just, you can just cross the lagoon using cable car. Okay, and then when you look at what LAS is doing now, we have routes from Ikorodu to Marina. We have routes, boats operating from Ibutero also to Marina, and all these are integrated to most of the plans that we have in the strategic transport master plan. So everybody is working together in such a way that we develop a seamless integrated transport system that will give you options to go from A to B. So you won't have one option of maybe road. You would have the option of road, rail, cable car if it passes that route, or water transport. So it's a multimodal system.
I want to first of all commend Lamata for their effort to decongest the road and create more transportation means for us. But I also want to ask Lamata, what are they going to do to sustain what they've started?
Okay, one of the reasons why Lamata was set up was to plan, to coordinate, to regulate and implement transport. Now I say regulate because as we discussed previously, we're now bringing the private sector into providing transportation and maintaining. But it is the role of government and institutions such as Lamata to have principles, parameters to guide the private sector. Now, you would agree with me that the private sector are better when it comes to managing infrastructure than the government, public sector. The public sector are better when it comes to regulating. So we need to share that risk. We have designed a system where the private sector comes in, delivers service, and then we have parameters which they have to abide by. So for example, we want you to maintain a particular road every 2 years. That will be written in the contract, and Lamata will make sure that that takes place, every 2 years. We also have a situation where we have legislations in place to ensure that maintenance is taken seriously in Lagos State. So that has now become, a key component of Lamata and maybe other institutions around the state. So we're taking maintenance very serious. That's something that has become part of our responsibility in terms of regulating. And let me just end by saying that that's why Lamata was set up. We are set up to make sure that these things happen, and they happen for a long time, and they don't just disintegrate into thin air like you've seen in the past.
And at this time, we'd like to have your parting words, Mr. Ehigwese.
My parting word is going to be very few, but they're straight and direct. One, transport is key to national development. Every hand must be on deck, government, private sector, to make it function very well. Two, at national level, we know that the federal government has set up economy regulator to mitigate particularly the problem of transport users, service users. We're also saying that, yes, apart from the port, it should go across all modes of transport, and states should key into that. That is very, very important. The economic regulation of the transport sector is key also to national development. Having said that, I want to call people who are, of course, not in transport today to understand that transport is not about minute buses you see on the road. It is an aspect of the national economy that needs to be given its pride of place, and attention needs to be paid to it so that we will enjoy the benefit of transportation. Thank you.
Thank you. That's why we say it's a wealth-creating industry on its own. Dr. Olaide Indi.
I want to talk about the importance of public transport, and in particular, a multimodal public transport system in Lagos. Now today, Lagos generates about 22 million trips, of which 40 million are motorized trips. And when I say motorized trips, I'm talking about a combination of public transport and private cars. Now, each trip in Lagos experience 20 minutes delay. Now, for 1 hour of delay to a particular trip, that delay costs the economy of Lagos 200 naira. Now, when you multiply 40 million trips by 20 minutes delay by the 200 naira which it costs the economy. We waste about 1 billion naira every day in delays. 1 billion naira of unproductivity. So it's very important that we take multimodal public transport serious. It is our system, it is your system. So when the government provides our system, let us maintain it. It's a very expensive infrastructure, but most importantly, it is your infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you. And to you, Dr. Asineme.
You find out that the issue of praying at parks has increased. When you want to travel, they will say, let us pray. The reason why we are praying, it's good to pray, but we shouldn't pray out of fear because the roads are not safe. So I'm calling on the road users. Let's use the roads wisely so that these needless accidents on the road will not be there. Most people, like I think Mr. President said earlier on, about those who die on the road about 25 to 40 years of age, and these are the productive sector, each sector of the economy. So we don't want to lose people who will take over, who will run the economy of the country. When somebody is above 70 years, what else can he do physically? But this group are the most active group, and they are dying every day because of the bad usage of the road. The Corps Commandant said some time ago, the FRSC Commandant, that the roads itself don't kill, it's the usage of the road. So it's not about praying at the park before we leave. Let us use the road wisely so we can get to our destination. Thank you.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for being a part of the program today. We have all taken lessons from the interesting topic. And we'll be right back after the break.
Kókó ọ̀rọ̀ tí àwọn àlejò wa fi yé wa lórí ètò wa tòní ni wípé ètò ọkọ̀ ṣe pàtàkì fún ìdàgbàsókè orílẹ̀-èdè wa yìí. Wọ́n wá ń rọ ìjọba àpapọ̀, ìjọba ìpínlẹ̀, ìjọba ìbílẹ̀ àti gbogbo àwa tí ọ̀rọ̀ ètò ọkọ̀ yìí kàn kí a ṣojúṣe wa kí ọ̀rọ̀ ètò ọkọ̀ lè dára jù báyìí lọ ní ọjọ́ ọ̀la.
Our guests today don't talk say one of the koko thing wey go make country to grow na im be transportation. They come dey beg all the different government dem plus all of us wey this transportation matter concern. Make we do the one way good, way we sabi.
We hope you enjoyed watching this episode of Lamata FR. Do please use the details appearing on your screen to connect with us. We'll love to hear from you.
Every member of our audience will go home with a loaded Lagos Connect card. Till next week,
Lamata.
Think transport! Eko Akete, Lagos, my home. With Lamata, Lagos is changing for the best. BRT lanes, modern rail lines, pedestrian bridges,